Good morning, Haas. How's it going?
Doing well. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Morning, guys. Twitter finally decided not to hate me.
Hey, what's up, Carter? Yeah, I guess because you were trying to join and I had to maybe invite you. Who knows? Twitter acts weird. But how you been, man? I'm excited to talk to you because what I was saying earlier, for tax season since March 1st, like my life has been just crazy. I haven't even been able to like stay up with anything, even in Cosmos. Like I'm here and there with like keeping up with everything, but anything that's going on or live or any cool updates or going on with even like any chain, it's just like I'm so far behind. And so I'm excited to hear what you guys have going on with Shade Swap today, and like any features or things that are going to be coming out soon, just so I mean, so obviously I get to learn, and hopefully anyone else tuning in or listens to the recordings too can as well. So yeah, man.
100%.
So like let's like tell me what's going on with Shade Swap. Like I know the whole functionality is being able to degen and DeFi and privacy, which is amazing. But what's the key functions, like what separates, like, hey, come use us? Why should we go and be like, all right, let's go use Shade Swap?
So the one that's getting a lot of attention is the new asymmetric concentrated liquidity curve. It was something that last year we put a PhD mathematician on. Essentially, we looked at curve and said, like, how can we, with Silk coming, how can we maybe improve on what they've built in a way that's like truly differentiated. And the researcher that we gave a grant to, his name's Cantaruti, went out, did like an initial 5-6 week preliminary report and came back and was like, lo and behold, like Curve is super, super efficient. Their math is actually like beautiful. Like we're not entirely sure what to change here. But um we're on a call once and I got this idea, and I'm not a mathematician by any means, but I asked him if could we have independent control over liquidity on either side of the tail of a curve, and he kind of looked at me and was like, well, yeah, that's never been done before, and I was like, all right, great, like let's go ahead and like give that a shot. Let's go ahead and research that and continue the grant. And originally the use case was going to be for Silk, the stablecoin. Kind of thought like, what if we had a DEX where you had liquidity kind of biased towards protecting Silk stability? And Cantaruti, he goes off for another month or so doing research on this asymmetric concentrated liquidity thing, which had never been done before. Comes back and it presents the details, but there's a problem. We realized that with stablecoins, the reason liquidity is distributed symmetrically along the curve is because when two assets are pegged to the exact same thing, they're both pegged to a dollar. The order flow ends up being like symmetrical because of all the arbitrage and then like, the capital movements between the two assets. And so then this idea of like trying to add in like a capital protection for Silk didn't make any sense because like essentially curve they had picked the right curve for stablecoins. And so then the 3-4 months of research we realized wasn't really gonna amount to much, and it was kind of sad, but sometimes research and grants, that's how things go. Another month goes by and Christian, one of our senior developers, is in office, and we have the whiteboard up and we're drawing out the curve. And suddenly it struck me that we could, we had launched Stake Secret. It's the largest secret network staking derivative last March, and its price movement was always below the minting price point. So you can always like deposit like Atom and mint out like ST Atom, right? And the rate for that is slowly increasing over time as staking yield appreciates. But long and short is staking derivatives never go above their minting price point for very long, because what happens is arbors will just mint out the staking derivative and immediately sell it into an LP pool in the arbitrage. And so there's all this liquidity on one side of the tail that's completely wasted. It's being placed in trading regions that will never ever ever be touched. And even some people they try to solve this using symmetrical concentrated liquidity like what Curve has, but it's the same problem because you're not able to control where the liquidity lives on the curve. Specifically, this symmetrical stable swap liquidity for derivative to L1 is very capital inefficient. And so then it dawned on me that we actually had accidentally built the perfect curve to concentrate liquidity on the trading region where derivatives to L1s trade. And this is only possible if you can asymmetrically control where liquidity lives on both tails. And so that leads us to where we are today, where you can trade Atom to ST Atom at a better rate on Shadeswap than on Osmosis, than anywhere else in crypto right now, because of this insane capital efficiency. And the crazy part is we're doing that with a pool that only has like $600,000 in liquidity. So everyone that's coming to Shadeswap, they're hopping on the app. They're like, how are they doing this? How is this even possible? And so there's actually, I think Austin's here. Yeah, Secret Austin, one of our lead front end developers. Like last night, there was like over $100,000 in volume traded on the Atom to ST Atom pair, and that's actually more the volume than what's happening on Osmosis. But they have 20 million in TVL in that pool, whereas we only have 600K, but we still have better trading conditions. So add on total front running resistance to Shadeswap, add on private token balances, add on Silk as a like superior routing token once that goes live this upcoming Wednesday, and you end up with a really beautiful DEX, Haas. And people I think are getting really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm on it right now. I'm about to mess around while we're talking, so you can check it out. But yeah, man, that's awesome. Because there are so many opportunities, and that's what one of the things I was like, kind of complaining about earlier is that I haven't had the time to like get into any good opportunities. Like, luckily, when USDC kind of was tanking a little bit, I thought it was all smoke. So I mean, I didn't do non-financial advice, but I was like, I'm going to ARB that because I don't remember what it went down to, but it was like low 90 cents. And I'm like, yeah, I think this is free money right now. So I took advantage of that. But yeah, I mean, there's all these times, that's one of the reasons, besides the UST crap, but that's one of the reasons Luna's ecosystem took off, because they had so many different ways of arbing different tokens within their ecosystem. And I think what you guys are doing, and just Cosmos as a whole, is building out amazing tooling for DeFi to really truly flourish. And I don't remember who posted it. I know what you were saying earlier about Zaki and Sunny and whatnot, and that's a good strategy for anyone listening if you really don't have as much time. And I do believe you're right about the algorithm kind of messing around. You follow those guys and see what they're liking or retweeting. They're usually on top of things, and anyhow, the moral of the story is that one of them, I think, tweeted out something not too long ago about DeFi as a whole and how much money is actually staying in the market. It's growing. Even when the market was crap and like it was tanking a little bit, there was still more money in DeFi protocols than like 2017 or 2018 or whatnot. So that shows the sentiment. One has to deal with centralized exchanges not having as much street cred, so to speak. And then two is just people are just looking for ways they earn yield, because one of the things I was going to ask you about, because I know you're in economics, is like what you feel about the dollar. But a lot of currencies, they're just, it's not as stable as it used to be. And I see a trend where it seems like, the petrodollar, people are trying to get off the United States dollar. And then what you guys are doing, not just pegging it to United States dollars, a good thing with Silk. And I think a lot of other people that want to stay relevant in the stablecoin market need to kind of model something to that effect as well, like having a global basket of currencies. Because yeah, I mean, you don't want to just be kind of at the helm of, or being hostage of just like one currency, because what happens if it goes down or tanks? And nothing's inevitable, or nothing's too big to fail, in my opinion. Like, I don't think the dollar right now is going to, but like it's weak. I mean, that's all I could say about the dollar is it seems like it's weaker. The policies that are going in right now, a lot of it I don't agree with, and I don't think it's sustainable, but I mean, it is what it is. So kudos to what you guys are doing. That's amazing. Where can I see the numbers? Like, I see the 730K liquidity, but like, where is it? So
Yep.
dashboard, maybe, like where it shows the volume and all that.
It should be on the pools page.
Okay,
Yeah, you should be able to see volume.
Okay, I see it. So, but yeah, that's not bad at all. That's cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, for only 48 hours in, it's pretty interesting to see really healthy volume. And it's not even like secret assets that are getting like all the volume, right? It's like it's Atom, it's ST Atom. These are some like major tier one assets. So it definitely signals that there's some larger Cosmos whales that are interested in using that chain functionality.
Yeah. So like for Silk, what do you guys have going on with any sort of like collaborations within the ecosystem and just in crypto in general?
100%. Yeah, so Silk is going live this upcoming Wednesday with Shade Lend, which, by the way, is like a pretty absurd rollout because I don't think I've ever seen a stable swap, a novel new curve, and a lending product and a stable coin. Also, fee grant modules going live too, but that's a story for another time. So massive product rollout, and with the launch of Silk this upcoming Wednesday, we have a bunch of Cosmos partners that are going to be bringing incentives over the course of the next, anywhere from 30 to 90 days. So you can look forward to Silk pairings with tokens like IST, CMST, USK. Trying to think here, and there's essentially like big incentives that are going to be coming. And Secret Surge, Haas, I don't know if you've heard about that, but Secret Network passed an on-chain proposal to essentially help incentivize and revitalize the DeFi ecosystem on Secret Network. So you can expect Secret Surge incentives on a lot of those popular secret asset pairs and Silk pairs as well.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I got to get back to my roots, man. Like, for anyone out there listening, my first baby in IBC was Osmosis, just because it was just like it launched and I used it and I was like, wow, that's amazing. But like if I had to give you my personality like trait would be Secret. It always has been, because in real life I'm just like a really private person. I like to chill, and it's kind of like what Secret is. It's like, look, I could do things. I have freedom, but like I also can show if I need to show like what I'm up to or whatever. So like that's kind of like why I like Secret. Plus the community has always been really cool, and a lot of like-minded people I found, and I met a lot of wonderful people, including Carter at down Texas last June at the Central. And it is just like I knew these guys like my entire life, and it's been just like complete strangers on the other end of a Twitter space or on a call or Telegram or Discord or whatever. But a lot of the Secret Network people kind of just resonated with me, so I've always liked Secret. I haven't been as active in Secret. It's just like due to timing, but that's awesome, man. It's because at the end of the day, like pretty much everything in this space, including Ethereum, is still like technically a startup. So you always have to pivot and keep up and move. And there's no one shoe fits all. That's just how technology is. I mean, shit, Amazon started as a cool bookstore that you can buy books and like get it delivered to your house and write reviews. And I remember doing it as a kid. I thought it was the coolest shit ever. And now look what it is. And I'm not comparing like this type of tech to Amazon, but just like how they, moved around and did so many different things. And they're always trying to be innovative. And that's how crypto is too. People that aren't in it just think of it as like some sort of currency that like competes against the dollar, which isn't true at all, really. But I'm excited. I went to ETH Denver, and you're talking about IST, and I met a lot of people in Cosmos at the Interrupt Summit. And it was only for a day that I was there with those people in the after party, but there's a lot brewing in Cosmos, and I do think the Cosmos season's just around the corner, and it has to be the talk of town, because like everything that everyone else wants to do, like outside of IBC, is like an addition to what they can do, but it's not as good or secure and safe and interoperable as like what we have going on. So it's just like, yeah, I think what we're doing is amazing. And if we can nail that, and then also kind of, I think one of the issues with Cosmos is a little bit is just how truly decentralized it is. We need to like maybe get marketing just a little bit better, maybe use some things that work traditionally that we're not sellouts, but like there's things in traditional marketing and traditional business that actually could be applicable to this space. So maybe we'll get that going too. But I think the sky's the limit with Cosmos, man. Like I love everything about Cosmos. I'm such a maxi, bro. It's like it's hard not to be. Um, I do own stuff outside of Cosmos, but this is like my bread and butter. Is just like how truly awesome the technology is. Like I haven't met anyone. Like I was at ETH Denver. A lot of people were Ethereum guys and EVM people, and like none of them had anything bad to say about IBC at all. So I'm excited.
I'll say one other really cool thing about that is kind of coinciding with surge and revitalization of private DeFi is that Shade Protocol is helping drastically improve the UI UX associated with private DeFi. I think anyone that might have tried to, interact with private DeFi on Secret Network before, even, at the start of when Shade Protocol initially launched their airdrop, they probably would have experienced at least a decent amount of friction. And Shade has put a ton of effort into simplifying almost every aspect of that user experience to make that onboarding process into Secret Network and into the Shade Protocol dApps as smooth as possible. Everything from making sure our bridging is as seamless as possible, removing as many clicks as possible, and just providing as much information to kind of facilitate that onboarding as possible. And so I'm really proud of what Shade has done thus far. And Carter kind of alluded to some of the other things that are going to be coming out here in the next week or so that are going to just continually improve the UI UX even more.
Nice. For those out there that requested to come up and speak, you guys are cool to have some questions.
100%. Yeah, let's do it.
So I see a fellow. Let's see here. What's up, Jordan?
Hey,
What's going
how's
on?
it going, guys? I'm actually personal friends with Carter, so he knows me and he knows I'm not trying to FUD, but I'm always trying to, force us to creatively think strategically about any potential pitfalls and whatnot. And so I'll be honest, I don't know very much about this new curve that Carter's discovered, but I know we've talked about it a little bit over some chats pretty recently. But I guess this is very, very important because as this curve is it's probably different than I would actually like to let's first ask, how is this curve different than curve on most of the EVM chains or on ETH? Do you know the differences between the curve that ShadeSwap is using versus the one that Curve Protocol on Ethereum is using?
Yep, 100%. So if you picture like the center point of a curve on like constant product, you know how you can essentially flatten the curve, and where you flatten the curve is where liquidity is concentrated, right? So the way curve works though is that if you want to expand the range of flatness, you have to expand it both directions. So like you can increase like the really, really good trading range, but then you have to equally concentrate it on the right side and the left side of the origination point of that concentrated liquidity. And so the difference is for Shade Protocol, we don't have to do that. We can actually choose to just focus liquidity to the right side of the origination point or the left side. And the beauty of that is like the trading for derivatives to L1s don't occur above the minting point. And the minting point is where we place the origination point when we're talking about focusing liquidity. And so we focus the liquidity to the right of that, which is that whole discount region where the trading happens between L1s to staking derivatives. So Curve like physically can't do that. It's like they can't just choose to focus the liquidity on one side or the other. They have to symmetrically expand it. And in fairness to them, like if you're focusing on stable coins, that makes perfect sense, right? But an L1 token is not tracking and is not in the same trading range as the staking derivative. It's such a unique like asymmetric relationship. And so it would then make sense that you want a curve design specifically for that relationship. And so actually one thing we tweeted out today was about the possibility of bringing in ETH and STETH into the Cosmos on this specific trading curve. And there's an argument to be made, not even argument, like this is like if we could get, a $600K to $1 million ETH to STETH pool, that this would be the most efficient place anywhere in crypto right now to trade derivatives to L1 tokens.
Okay, well, that's pretty sick. I actually did not realize that. So you're telling me, stablecoin to stablecoin, that's different. But now we're talking like L1 token to stake derivatives. This is like a perfect curve for that, you're saying. Or maybe not perfect. Perfect's maybe the wrong word, but this is a better iteration of what we've seen before.
Yes, it's about as good of a match as you could get. And the crazy part, I don't know if you've heard the whole story, Jordan, but it was essentially like an accidental discovery through like the researcher, where we were like, well, curve's symmetrical. What if we were asymmetrical? We didn't even know the use case for it. A bunch of months went by and there was like this, holy smokes, like this maps on perfectly to Cosmos derivatives. And now it's like, this stuff's going to get forked. It's too good. There's like too many people using it and they're like, it's just so efficient.
Okay, that's pretty sick. I wonder if there's a possibility to bring it to maybe EVM chains, given that this model is probably not on EVM chains yet, is my guess. So this is awesome. So congrats, Carter.
Yep,
And
hundred
Shades.
percent. And huge shout out to Cantaruti, the research. He deserves a huge amount of credit. And then also Alex, the developer that worked on the implementation. I mean, these are first times. These are completely novel things. And being the first is always the really hard part. They also improved on the gas computation too. So they looked at curves mathematics and how they compute transactions. And if you look at technically it's called Silk Swap is the name of the curve. That's actually kind of the irony. Even the white paper itself was focused on the stable coins and not the derivatives. But there was also improvement on gas computations as well.
That's awesome. Now, is there any? Again, this is not FUD. Me and Carter know each other personally. We've worked together for quite a bit in the space. So Carter, let me ask you: is there any potential like pitfalls or any like sort of edge cases that you guys have considered with this model or looking into? I'm assuming.
Yep. So there's essentially two assumptions that make this curve work, right? So if either of those assumptions fail, then it ends up being a worse trading experience. So assumption number one is that the price point of a staking derivative on a liquidity pool will not stay above the minting price point of the derivative for very long. Essentially, like if people are buying the staking derivative and they go above that minting price point, the assumption is that an arbor will essentially we'll use like an extreme example. Let's say you can mint out Atom to ST Atom for like 1 Atom equals 1.5 ST Atom. But let's say the market is treating ST Atom like it's worth 2, like 1 ST Atom, or yeah, 1 ST Atom could be turned in for 2 Atom, but the minting price point is 1 ST Atom can mint 1.5, right? So the assumption is that the arbor will, of course, mint out the derivative and immediately sell it on the pool because it's a gap, right, between the minting contract itself and what the market is treating the derivative. So if that assumption falls and no one chooses to partake in that arbitrage, the trading experience will get worse and worse because there's not much liquidity above the minting price point. So slippage will start to get like very, very insane, very, very quick for the people trying to go that direction. So that's assumption number one. People will arb if it goes above minting price point. Assumption number two is that people will partake that there'll be enough capital to partake in what we call long form arbitrage. Long form arbitrage is essentially where someone buys a staking derivative at a discounted price, and then they unbond the derivative. They incur like the 21-day unbonding period to then earn more assets at the end of it. So if no one was participating in long form arbitrage, then the model would also potentially enter into trading ranges outside of the concentrated region to the right that would also start to incur high slippage and not be a great trading experience for one of the directions, not the other. So yeah, those are the two assumptions in the model. The mint arb and long form arb have to hold true for the trading range to continuously provide an excellent trading experience. And so far, and from what we've seen with staking derivatives, those are pretty safe assumptions. But it's DeFi, so there's definitely risks.
And Carter, I've been so busy. What was the upgrade to make it SNP 25 for Secret? Like what did it all entail?
Sure. So there's a really simple migration page on app.shapeprotocol.io where you can migrate. Essentially, the reason there was a migration is there's been some vulnerabilities in the SNP standard that were uncovered by a researcher. And so Secret Labs worked on hardening the balance encryption on Secret Network, as well as adding in support for decoy addresses on this new SNP standard. And additionally, one of the advantages is there's also timestamps added, which makes it a lot easy for like taxes, like in terms of figuring out when a transaction was for a user. So Shape Protocol helped facilitate the migration to SNP 25s because you want to make sure that new people that get onboarded from the Cosmos using our IBC bridge will immediately be on the 25 standard and not the old standard. And so most of the pain of migration is for users who have assets previously on Secret Network. So it's kind of painful, but we're just trying to ensure best possible security for the users. And I'm sure there'll be another SNP standard in the future, because privacy is always a moving target of, red team versus blue team. And the good news is now we have the tooling to like help support any additional migrations in the
I
future.
just migrated over from the old Shade to the new. It was super easy. It's just for anyone out there, if you have old Shade, it's definitely really, really easy. So, but yeah, I just wanted to know what was the difference. I mean, I understand that there was an upgrade. I just didn't know what it all entailed. So that's awesome. Thank you for that. And is this Tyree from Rat Chain? What's up, man?
What's going on, buddy? Yeah, man, I'm super stoked about this. This sounds amazing, Carter, and congrats to you and your team on getting this up. And I'm just curious if the curve works in a similar way, or if there are any additional issues that you think would come up with maybe the difference between like simple stake derivatives and sort of the stake compound derivatives, where they're actually getting yield to that derivative itself. And maybe if you can talk about that a little bit.
100%. So essentially, as long as the LP pool has an input from a queryable smart contract, the liquidity is distributed based on that. So like the curve accounts for the fact that the staking derivative slowly appreciates in value. So as long as there's a target minting rate that can be input into the curve, it shouldn't, and that's like a very steady process, then it should be good to go, whether you're, giga auto compounding or like something that's a static. But it's definitely best used for something that's appreciating in value. That's definitely part of its magic.
Cool, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm looking really forward to jumping into this and using this ASAP. So thank you for having me up here, and Cosmos Haas, of course, always. Hopefully I'll see you guys over at Consensus soon. And cheers. Have a great day.
100%. And as you use the UI UX, if you encounter anything or any friction, feel free to DM me on Twitter. We're always trying to improve the user experience. I know Secret Austin is listening in. One of the lead front end devs is like very obsessive with making sure all the edge cases for users are covered. So happy to help out or answer any questions.
Yeah, man. I'm like, while we're talking here, I'm just messing around. It's real smooth. So kudos. It's very, very smooth.
Hey Carter, I know we've mostly talked about, the trading experience for people trying to make swaps. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the benefits for liquidity providers using Shade Swap's curve, like the asset utilization and capital efficiency that it provides for users actually wanting to LP their derivative assets and underlying L1 tokens.
Yeah, Red, take a crack at it. I can hear the passion in your voice, so let's go for it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, just because, I have never been one to be really interested in liquidity providing. I did it a few times on Osmosis before I realized what impermanent loss was, and learned real quick, what that can feel like when it goes wrong. Yeah, I mean, for liquidity providers, because Shade Protocol kind of places staking derivatives as like the backbone of that liquidity providing experience for a lot of especially for the derivative swap, but being able to connect layer one assets to each other. This is important for a few different reasons. One, liquidity providers don't have to pick between staking rewards and liquidity providing yield. And that is generally kind of the trade-off that you have to make whenever you're providing liquidity of just that layer one asset. Your hurdle rate for providing liquidity is going to be much higher. And so there are three kind of important takeaways from this. One, this empowers the usage of layer one assets in DeFi way more than it could previously. Because that hurdle rate is much lower, you're able to maintain the security of the layer one through the staking derivatives, but also use those assets in DeFi. That increased capital efficiency from our asymmetric concentrated liquidity curve, that is going to be really important as liquid staking derivatives continue to get adopted. We've seen kind of Stride take that kind of leader position now, first mover advantage. And we've just seen massive adoption across multiple different chains in the ecosystem. I think now ST Atom is the third highest TVL asset on Osmosis, behind Osmo and regular Atom. But for liquidity providers, they enjoy much higher asset utilization than traditional concentrated liquidity could provide, which means that liquidity providers are able to earn more from the assets that they LP, and they'll in general experience much lower amounts of impermanent loss because they're able to facilitate those trades in such a tight range and concentrate liquidity there. And then from the protocol side, because that hurdle rate is lower, the protocol doesn't have to incentivize liquidity providers as much. And so it's beneficial for both the protocol and the users. The protocol doesn't have to spend as much money incentivizing liquidity pools or liquidity providers. And people who are providing liquidity are still going to be able to enjoy earning external and native incentives and also swap fees. And so the big thing is we want to make sure the volume is there so that liquidity providers are earning a really decent amount of swap fees on top of those APRs, because the APRs will naturally start to go down a little bit as TVL starts to increase. It's just a function of how much TVL is there, but being able to earn decent swap fees and not experience any IL is like the thing that makes me most excited about providing liquidity again. I think I haven't provided liquidity in over a year, and I'm looking forward to utilize both my L1 assets and my stable coins once we launch our stable pools.
That was a great summary. The only piece I'd add to that is I'll just give a simple example to illustrate this. So on Osmosis, you have the Atom Osmo pair, right? And essentially you're paying the protocol has to pay the liquidity providers for 3 different opportunity costs. Opportunity cost number 1 is the Atom in that liquidity pool is not staked, right? So as a liquidity provider, the protocol needs to pay me to account for the fact that I'm giving up staking yield, right? So that's expensive. And then the second opportunity cost is my Osmo as a liquidity provider. My Osmo is in that pool, and it could be staking right now, but it's not. So now you need to pay me for the fact that my Atom is not staked, my Osmo is not staked. And then the third opportunity cost is impermanence loss, right? The fact that these 2 assets are volatile, and I might end up losing money because of that volatility based on the ratio that I entered in at as a liquidity provider. And so for Shade Protocol, it's way more. Our model is way more capital efficient because we have an ST Atom to ST Osmo pair, and this means that the liquidity provider does not have to give up their Atom staking yield, and on the Osmo side of things, they do not have to give up their Osmo staking yield. And so then the only risk the protocol needs to pay the liquidity provider for is really the impermanence loss, the potential for impermanence loss, as well as probably having to compensate them for potentially lower volume, right? Because those are trading fees that they expect, and so if there's less volume on a DEX, you're probably the protocol is going to have to pay them more to account for that opportunity cost. So I guess it'd be 4 opportunity costs, but as a whole, this is a huge advantage for Shade Protocol that we are 100% staking derivative focused from day one, because we're not having to subsidize the opportunity cost of staking for any of these L1 tokens. So it's dramatically cheaper for the protocol. And it's also, from a liquidity provider standpoint, it's the peace of mind too that if I'm holding Osmo and Atom, I'm probably a believer in Osmo staking yield and Atom staking yield. Maybe it's better to be earning the staking yield on both sides versus only getting compensated in the form of one governance token. On the Atom Osmo pool and Osmosis, I'm only getting Osmo rewards, right? Versus on the Shade Protocol, ST Atom to ST Osmo pool, you're technically earning Atom yield and Osmo yield. So it's better representative of the balanced relationship and conviction that a liquidity provider has with the 50-50 split between the 2 assets versus only being forced to gain one Gov token as your LP reward. I don't know if that entirely makes sense, but that's yeah, that I'll stop there. That was kind of a mouthful.
I See, I'm a big LPer, and I know it's crazy because we're talking about Osmo and Adam pool, and I feel like that pool. I haven't ran the numbers, but there's definitely a loss in that pool for sure. The other ones I feel pretty good about. Like I noticed, like for me, as long as the pools kind of stay in the same USD value, I'm okay with it. Especially if the market's not tanking. But it seems like, man, like they're because I've been in that pool since day one. I had a nice. It was like my biggest pool. I think it might even still be, but yeah, I haven't added to it in so long. I take like the Osmo rewards and do other stuff with it. But yeah, I like the fact that this does open up capital efficiency, and like you were saying, you still get the yield because yeah, I think a lot of people, especially in Cosmos, with Atom per se, is like they're like, hey, I want to stake it because either like airdrops or just the fact that they just like Atom. They don't want to dilute it at all. They just want to keep compounding it and not. And I like both Atom and Osmo. I'm a believer in both of them. So, but yeah, I totally get that. I like that, and obviously it's what other people are probably sharing because those are the staked Atom and Atom pool is pretty good. And you guys have only been live for 2 days, and Osmo, I haven't even ran the numbers. You said what, 20 million or whatever. So I mean, there's a lot of money in those two pools already. So what do you think for anyone out there that's like, man, what are they even talking about? Like, what's the best way, in your opinion, to get staked Atom and staked Osmo and bring it over? Like, what would you say to them?
So this is the crazy part about the decks. What you would do is bridge over Atom, bridge over Osmo on the Shade Bridge page, and actually buy ST Atom, ST Osmo on the curve. The reason I suggest that is it's actually cheaper to buy derivatives on Shadeswap than it is to mint them through Stride. Which is like that's how mind blowing capital efficient is. It's actually cheaper to buy the derivative than to mint the derivative on the deck. So usually, historically, the answer to that question is bridge Atom and Osmo to the Stride app and mint out the derivative. But because of Shadeswap's capital efficiency, it's actually easier to just bridge in to the Shade app with 50% of your Atom or 50% of your Osmo, buy ST Atom, ST Osmo, and then begin like liquidity providing.
Yeah, and even for that side of things, I'm a big fan of just easiness. Like doing all that other stuff is way more difficult and more friction. The less is more. Less clicks, and I get tired of as much as I'm a DJ and I like doing stuff. It's like I've been, especially right now, I've been all about being efficient with everything, whether that's just DeFi or whatever. It's just like auto compounding. So that makes it easy for people. You just essentially just bring it over and then swap, and then you're good. And I like the fact that you guys because like I use QuickSwap a lot on Polygon, and you have so many transactions just to LP. It's so annoying. It's like, okay, you gotta do the math yourself, and then it's like, then you add it, then you gotta prove it, and then you put it in there, then you gotta click this other one, then you gotta stake your LP, and it's just like, man, this is just ridiculous. Like, but you guys have it all one click. I seen that because I just provided liquidity, and it was just like. I don't even know what it said, but basically stake and LP, and you click it, and it just did it all for me. And then I guess for block, like, what's the rewards? Is it per day or is it block time? Like, how does that work?
Yep, it's on a per block basis, and one thing we really pride ourselves on is that it's instant withdrawal for liquidity providers. Which I don't want to dive into the economic theory of that, but I think locking up LPs is like LPs are a customer, and I think instant withdrawal is going to be a feature that like we stand by into perpetuity.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, well, really good discussion points over here. I'm enjoying the flow of conversation that's going on right now. An interesting point you raised the point of like having ETH and staked ETH, just given that this curve is just way more efficient for like staking derivatives and whatnot. I'd be curious to see like if there could be like a Shadeswap outpost on like some Ethereum layer twos, just given that there's like a lot of volume and users over there. I don't know if that's a possibility you guys have considered, just given that this is more innovative than other sort of trading curves out there for this sort of pair. But I could see this could be really huge for because you have like Lido staked ETH, you have Coinbase staked ETH, StakeWise staked ETH, and then Frax I think staked ETH, and they're there may be actually a few others that I'm not aware of, but I just feel like there could be a lot of volume and maybe a big opportunity for Shadeswap to have like an EVM outpost. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's definitely something of interest. I think the hardest part is the curve is coded in CosmWasm, which is Rust based, so it would be a conversion into Solidity. So I think the better this is probably this is the slower answer, but I know MetaMask support is coming to Cosmos in August with snaps. So I think what we would probably prefer is to be obsessed with the bridging experience when MetaMask compatibility comes to Cosmos, such that like people will be able to kind of interact with the curves. Outposts are better. It's technically less friction, and we can definitely look into that. But I think MetaMask support for Cosmos is the better long-term solution.
Yeah, that's good because people have their favorite wallets, right? So it's like they don't want to have to. I can't tell you how many people are like, hey, send me Oz, like I'll do a giveaway or something, and they want Ozma, and they're like, well, all I have is Binance, or can I get Ozma on MetaMask? And I'm like, no. So yeah, I think that's a good step forward for everyone. Just being able to deploy their capital with a MetaMask, and that'll be nice. So I'm looking forward to that too. I'm not the biggest fan of MetaMask personally. Like I have MetaMask, obviously. I prefer Kepler, but I totally get it. Like if someone's just EVM based, they're so used to just having MetaMask. Is it?
Hi guys.
Hello? I'm not sure what that was about.
I gotta hop off now, but it was great chatting with you guys.
Yeah, I gave you a follow, man. I like because you got a pudgy penguin. I don't really get jealous too often, but you got a pudgy, so I'm following you just because it's a pudgy. You know what I mean? I'm a sappy. I'm a
shot you
sappy,
a
so
follow
we're
back
like your
then.
cousins. But yeah, it's all.
Yeah, exactly. Arctic Alliance. It was great chatting with you guys. Carter, great seeing you again virtually.
Yeah,
Right?
always a pleasure, Jordan.
Good rest.
Yeah, let's
Have a
definitely
good rest
catch
of
up.
your Sunday, man. Take care. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, you too.
Hey, what's up, Amir? Is it Amir?
Yes, it's me. Hi, everyone. Yes, hi, I'm good, thank you. I'm really hyped about the Shade, man. It was nice, smooth launch, and glad it happened. And with the Secret Surge, it's gonna be like another extra bonus, But I had a quick question. It's just like Jordan. It's not FUD. At the Silk, at the beginning, at the white paper, of course, you had to change it with what happened with UST. There was a CHF, which is the Swiss franc backing, and I was really happy about that because it's actually backed by gold, not completely, but somewhat backed by gold. And I was wondering why you took that off, why you took the CHF, the backing of CHF for Silco.
100%. So super simple answer first off, and also appreciate you reading the white paper. It's a rarity to have people dig in that deep. So that being said, Silk needed to have essentially Oracle support for the assets outlined in the white paper in order for it to actually work on chain. And so right now, in terms of band protocol and OHO, as well as the in-house solution, the kind of the aggregate of all these three pieces over time, the CHF piece wasn't available as a price feed. So when the research was originally done, it outlined kind of the ideal basket. And then now that it's time to actually have an implementation, we're forced to use that which is available. That being said, one of the really cool features of Shade Governance is that it will be able to vote to add in new assets into Silk, and it'll also be able to vote to modify the weights of Silk over time. So this allows Silk as a basket to evolve with the global volatility, with the global conditions, and then governance will also be able to vote to remove certain assets from the basket. So if you're passionate about Shade Governance and the Silk Peg, I would definitely encourage you to participate, on the forums and really express the desire to have, certain assets in the basket. It's definitely something that the community, it's going to become like an important part of community discourse. And just know that like as the price feeds become available, hopefully Chainlink and other options also come to Cosmos eventually. As more price feeds open up that are stable and secure, Silk's ability to mature and evolve will continue to improve.
And we've also got a a new Silk currency basket infographic that's going to be going out today. I'm not sure if we've posted our updated Silk currency basket weightages. But currently, it's a breakdown of 4 currencies, which is USD, Euro, JPY, and Canadian dollar. And then it's going to be have gold and Bitcoin as the commodity backing. And we'll post that infographic later today. It's got all the breakdowns of percentages and weights.
What do you see like in the future? Like how many? I don't know if this is even a good question to ask. Like, what would be the goal for how many assets you'd want it to be backed by?
So it's not necessarily a raw number. It's more about including the most stable assets and like globally. So in my mind, I'd love for something like wheat and oil and some other significant commodities to be included. I think that would help drastically in terms of inflation hedge options outside of gold and Bitcoin. And then on the currency side, we just want more uncorrelated options from the US dollar. And so that's something we're definitely on the hunt for.
Yeah. Excuse me, just a quick specification. When you say backed, it's not you don't hold it in reserves, obviously. So how do you back it?
Yeah. So it's over collateralized with crypto assets, and then all of the arbitrage mechanisms are tracking this slowly shifting price point that is the silk peg.
Thank you.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, raise your hand and come up and shoot the shit with us. So, yeah, man, this is exciting, dude. Like, I'm excited. I really think Cosmos season's around the corner. At least I'm hoping. I'm trying to be optimistic. I just feel like everyone I've talked to and like all throughout crypto that there's just so much going on. And I don't know, like to kind of turn the table, not necessarily about shade, but like I like to hear your perspectives of things. Like, what do you feel? What's your sentiment on zero knowledge, Bruce?
Yeah, I think zero knowledge proofs have seen an explosion in interest, and obviously there's been a lot of progression on the scalability side. I think the biggest benefit of the interest in ZKs in the last year is just there's going to be a lot more capital going towards the builders, and so I would expect that this inflow of capital will really start to generate like real genuine results on the ZK front over the course of the next 3-4 years. A lot of time narratives front run the reality of the technology. And so I think ZK's hit a certain level of proficiency that suddenly generated the interest, and then people's, imaginations run kind of ahead of what the builders have actually done so far. So in my mind, I'm very excited for ZKs to grow. I'm really excited about the capital inflows towards the researchers and the builders. And I think we'll have a better picture of where ZK stand in like 3 years.
Nice. So totally off topic. Yeah, when I was in East Denver, that's literally anyone was talking about was ZK. So that's all the talk of town was. That's all anyone talked about. Like every single team that went up on stage. I wasn't there for like the main event, but I was there for Builders Week, which to me was more beneficial for me anyhow because it's just people building. I like the glitz and glamour as well, but I was just there with all the builders for I think it was like 4 or 5 days. But anyhow, when you bridge over on Shade, does like say I have Osmo and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna bridge it over. Does it just come over as Osmo or is it gonna come over as S Osmo?
It will come over as Osmo and then get wrapped into S Osmo. There'll be 2 transactions in a row on the bridging interface.
So like when I do it, it's when I'm like, looking at my portfolio when I do this, it's gonna show.
Yep, that's Osmo.
Okay, cool. Yep. So that I was just making sure because I know beforehand. It was like kind of a little bit of a work. You would have to like you'd have to send it over, then you would have to wrap it yourself. So this is going to do it for you then, basically.
Yep, the bridge does it for you automatically back to back. And you'll probably notice that we took out the S acronym from the private assets. What we're trying to do is have a shift towards logos signaling that it's a private asset or not, just because the acronyms get like really crazy. Like for instance, ST Atom ST is the acronym for Stride Atom. So we don't want things displayed like SST Atom or SST Atom. Yeah, it's just like gets really verbose. So that's why the S tag is we're trying to change the standard on Secret Network. The other really cool feature coming is the fee grant module. You're going to be able to bridge in assets without having secret for gas. So essentially, we were really inspired by Osmosis and their free transactions. And so we wanted to try to match that experience, even though we're an app built on top of a layer one. And so the way it works is we essentially give the user secret as they're bridging in, but we actually take a little bit of their asset that they're bridging in, and we essentially pay for them to swap it a tiny amount. It's opt-in for them to swap for secret gas. So it's this whole complicated multi-execute transaction, but the net result is someone with zero secret can bridge in like Atom and end up with like a tiny amount of secret in their wallet to begin transacting on Secret Network, versus having to like buy secret somewhere else, bridge it in, and then bridge the Atom in. We're trying to essentially like drastically decrease the friction of that first time experience.
No, I like that, because that was one of my things that kind of excited me for Cosmos at the very beginning, was the lack of all the garbage in front of each thing. Like I was DeFi before that a little bit on Solana, and there's just so much going on. I'm like, dude, there's no way anyone's gonna understand this. Like there was like 7 different Solanas. I'm like, nah, this not people aren't gonna understand it. But I like that it's just a different little logo or whatever. It's just even on Osmosis, I like how it just says ETH. It's just like ETH/Osmo instead of wrapped ETH. It's just like, I just like it better because it does get confusing. And then obviously what you're saying about it with the ST in front of it, then if you have an S and all that, it's going to confuse people. Like there's no way anyone that's new, that's maybe not even in crypto yet, and they're like, look, and they get in and they're like, I heard about this Shade protocol, let me go check it out. And then there's seven different types of acronym, prefixes in front of it that has like an S and all that. They're going to get confused. So I like that approach for sure. That's definitely good. So if you had to guess someone that's like has only one, like say Osmo or just Atom, do you think they should swap it first to get 50-50 and bring it over, or just do it on yours right now with that liquidity being a little bit lower for the staked Atom and staked Osmo pool?
Yeah, I think if you're talking about what I would recommend for getting into the ST Atom, ST Osmo pool, I guess I would recommend non-financial advice, hypothetically. Bridge in Osmo, bridge in Atom, swap it to ST Osmo, swap it to ST Atom, and then LP it. That would for sure be the quickest, fastest, simplest. And you'll also like put in you can simulate a trade on the swap page. Look at the swap rate from Atom to ST Atom, and you'll see that it's incredibly efficient to perform it.
Nice. And then are you guys working on, because like what I've been kind of fascinated with, or I don't want to say fascinated, but just more realistic, because I like in my real life I'm a tax accountant, and one of the key things that I've noticed about humans, whether they have a lot of wealth or not much wealth at all, is for the most part they don't care about finances, or if they do, they don't want to do any of the work. They just want to pay someone to do it. So I think like vaults and having some sort of like portfolio manager is probably going to be pretty realistic for the most common average person that would get into this space in the future. So like I like Quasar. Are you guys like doing anything like that where someone could just be like, all right, this is like what I want to do, and just have them do all the work for them?
Yeah, so I think that would be a good example of a primitive that we would hope someone plugs into ShadeSwap or builds on top of ShadeSwap. We don't have like an asset management protocol on the current roadmap right now, where we have some other exciting primitives on the roadmap. But I totally agree that for normal folks, they want to be able to benefit from DeFi and all of the different yield opportunities, but they want to do so in the simplest way and in the most risk minimized way. And I do agree that I think Quasar, I was thinking like the Squids of the world are probably going to head towards products like that too, that are like totally take advantage of IBC, but kind of handle all the complexity for users. I also look forward to that use case.
Yeah, because I think like honestly, the people that have been in here for the last couple of years, they probably don't care as much, but obviously we need to get new people in the space. So the ones that do get in the space, they're probably going to be like for example, my cousin, when I got him into crypto, he kept bothering me, hit me up about everything. And he's like, is there just a way I could just like put this in there? And it's just like, he didn't say auto compound. I don't even know what word he used, but it'll just like keep doing it for me. And I'm like, not really yet. And this was like a while ago. But now if he asked me that question, I say, yeah, I mean, there's yield modes for like osmosis, and there's Quasar. And there's like all these. How do you say that anyway? Is it Quasar, Kazar? Like, I don't even know how to say it right. I guess.
I've heard a lot of Quasar. So if someone else knows otherwise, they should tell
I
us.
should know. I did a space with them in Everstake like a couple weeks ago, I think it was. But yeah, man, I think it's Quasar. Anyhow, I think like things like that are really beneficial. I mean, even just right now, like most people that have, like a 401k, or they just have any sort of investment, they just put it in and let it ride, and they auto compound their dividend or whatever they're doing, and their drip or whatever they consider it. What's it? Drip? I think it's what it is. Drip.
I just spotted something. We have Secret Austin up on stage. This is one of our lead front end developers. So Austin, good to see you, sir. And Haas, if you have any questions for Austin, it'd be great to actually talk directly to one of the Deverinos.
Yeah, Austin. So like when you first got your journey going, like for coding, what was the first language that you learned?
I mean, you guys hear me first of all?
Yep.
Yeah. Started out actually about 2 years ago now. Just building websites, and so just JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and then learn Vue.js as I started to get into some blockchain interactions. That was kind of my beginnings. But yeah, super passionate about the UI UX. We're trying really, really hard to make that seamless experience to onboard users. Carter earlier mentioned, we have the privacy of Secret Network, which is always a little bit of a challenge. But we're trying to do everything we can to make it so that it feels like a public chain, even though you have to, work with viewing keys and querying private information. And then just from the standpoint of being an L2, that does make it a little bit challenging when we can't offer free fees, but we've done things like fee grants to help essentially make it feel to the user like it's zero fee, just with that capability. So really excited about some of that stuff. Yeah, if you guys got any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer. I got a few minutes too. The one thing I wanted to mention, Carter was talking about how, best way to come into Shadeswap and try out trading and LP providing. Definitely go to Osmosis, go to our page, go to Strides, Minting, and compare what you get in these various places. And the crazy thing, and the reason I personally have been really excited about getting back into LP providing is that all right, hold on one second. I gotta help my kid with something. I want to jump back in here.
Do your thing, man. It's Sunday.
just to give Austin and the front end team some more like props that they deserve. I noticed a few familiar faces in this space who participated in our incentivized testnet we had for about a month and a half leading up to the launch of Swap. And if you tested out Shadeswap when it first went live on testnet and look at what it looks like now live on mainnet, to me it almost feels like day and night. And that's not to say that the first iteration of the Swap page wasn't in a really good place, but the team was incredibly meticulous about fixing all these edge cases, improving the UI UX as much as possible, making it visually appealing and making sure information is easily accessible to individuals who do want to make those comparisons. Like Austin was saying, we want to make sure that individuals have all the information they need, but also have it organized so that pages don't seem cluttered. People are having to really, really look for information. So big kudos to the front end team.
Yeah, and the thing I was going to say before I dropped off there was, Red earlier was talking about how he's been getting excited about LP providing again, and I sort of feel the same way because when I first started experimenting in DeFi, I kind of was getting wrecked by the impermanence loss. But specifically, like on, for example, our Atom ST Atom pool, because of how efficient our curve is, we're able to compete with the prices of Osmosis, and they have $22 million, I believe it is, in their pool. And if you imagine from an LP provider's perspective, where you're collecting fees on the trading that's happening, you're splitting those fees with all $22 million worth of liquidity that's in that pool. Whereas in our pools currently with 600 to 700K, over the last few days, we've been sort of matching or coming close to the volume of Osmosis in those pools. So you're getting way, way more bang for your buck when it comes to the fees that you're earning as a liquidity provider. So don't take my word for it. Try it out for yourself. Come on in, and I think you'll be pretty impressed at what we got
Hey,
going.
Austin, not to rain on your parade right now. I guess that's a saying that I heard. I haven't said that in a long time. But I tried to bridge over Osmo. It worked, but for some reason it said like it failed. I just wanted to let you know that. I don't know if it's just like a bug or whatever, but it went through. But then like the message came up after it like kind of was showing you like the little dots of it like kind of processing or whatnot. It came up and said like your transaction failed, and then whatever other wording it said, I kind of accidentally clicked out of it to let you know. But I'm looking at my portfolio and like looked at the transaction. It went through, just to let you know.
Yeah, well, we can take a look at that. We're working really hard to strengthen our relayer community and the data that we're getting in these transactions. In some cases, we just aren't able to verify that it went through because we got a bad query or something, but it may have actually gone through. So it's something we're continuing to work on and improve for that experience. But thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, it was smooth. I mean, it went through. It just said failed. I know how IBC is, especially if you're sending stuff from Osmosis right now because Epoch's about to happen and like there's a lot of transactions last minute and stuff happens. But yeah, it went through. Just to let you know. But yeah, I mean, it's smooth, man. I like it. It's already kind of dark by default too, not eye gauging. You don't have to like click, and I think that's a good feature too because it's annoying when you first use any protocol that it's in crypto, right? Like people, I mean, they should just know better by now. It's like you build something, it should just be dark by default. And then if someone wants to change it, don't take it wrong. If some boomer wants to change it, they can change it. Like let them go and change it. But yeah, it's smooth. I'm going to be adding to that pool and messing around. And yeah, man, it's awesome. Thank you for what you built. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I got to hop off, but thanks for having me on. I'll talk to you guys
man.
later.
The next and thanks, Austin. The next like really exciting piece is a bunch of pools are going live Wednesday when Silk goes live, and Shade Lend also goes live. So there's going to be this big opportunity for people to lock up staking derivatives in Lend, which passively earn yield while your collateral is locked up. Mint out Silk and then trade Silk for all these other assets on the DEX, and then continue to lock up collateral and kind of circle through. So it's like this is known as like leveraged liquidity providing, leverage staking, lots of like really interesting functionality. And you could equate this to like if Mars protocol was kind of like directly built into the Osmosis app and also sent 100% of like the revenue to the protocol versus like a separate token. So we're really excited to see what happens if you have like an Osmosis plus Mars-esque thing like one click away from each other while also having privacy and also having good liquidity.
I like that. We're not going to have a VPN for that, right? Because I think Mars, like every time I messed around, I had to put a VPN on.
No VPN.
Yeah, because that's just annoying. It's like, man, this is so stupid. I just wish for crypto, like this is all I want. Like, right, I'm a big privacy advocate, and I just believe in freedom at the end of the day. And I believe people can pretty much do whatever they want to do as long as they're not like harming someone else. And that's just like me, right? Like I feel like this is pretty much anyone in crypto for the most part. We're in this space. We like don't want to be told what we can and can't do. Like we just want to be left alone. Like we're taking all the risks. Like we can't hit you up. Like we're not a bank, right? We just do all these crazy investments and lose everything. We can't just call the president or Janet Yellen and get like a buyback or whatever. It's like we're cool. Just leave us be. Like don't tell us we can't borrow and with our own money because like this is our own money. Like I want to be able to do whatever I want to do with it. So I like that because it's really frustrating that I have to use a VPN to borrow or lend. It's just like, come on, this is so stupid. Like, leave me alone. So I like that for that feature alone because, again, people get turned off with more having to do more things like one click. Just everything needs to just be one click transactions in this space, and just to show how smooth and quick it is, right? Like everything, sending money over to someone, buying something, borrowing, lending, investing, like buying NFTs, like everything just needs to be like essentially one click transaction. And I'll shout out Squid because I like what they're doing. And I don't know if anyone knows, I can't think of his name right now. What's his name? Carter.
What's this? We're talking about Squid?
I have it. Fig. So Fig, I always like hearing people's stories. That's why I asked Austin. But Fig literally was like a doctor, and then he was just like bored, and he wanted to create. So he taught himself how to code, and then he helped build out Squid. And I thought that was like a really fascinating story. Like a dude was a doctor, then he was like, "This is boring. I want to create," and then he came into Web3. So shout out to him. That's a cool story. But yeah, so like
Haas, if I may just
good.
Excuse me, Haas, if I may just say, I strongly recommend you use a VPN either way. But I'm sorry, just off topic. But man, the VPN is important stuff.
No, I get that. It just gets annoying that you even have to do it, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it should be someone's decision if they want to use it or not use it. And they shouldn't have to be forced to use it, because there's a lot of people that, they're not going to use VPNs. So like, that's just, again, that's more friction for people. So less is more, so to speak. But yeah, what was I going to say? So
I would specify a step further and say that sovereignty is key, is really what we're talking about. That it's like user choice, and so defaults should be, as much freedom as possible. But also, to M's point, we definitely want to encourage people to use privacy tooling that's out there. So I would also recommend using VPNs. And yeah, but at the end of the day, I think what Haas is pointing at is like there should be sovereignty around that decision, like sovereignty whenever possible.
Yeah, that's just the way I roll. Like, for anything, like I'm cool with people doing whatever they want to do. Like, if they want to get a shot, if they don't want to get a shot, I'm not going to get conspiratorial, but I don't like when people are forced to do things that they don't want to do, or forced, they feel forced to do something. So they have to lie or like go behind like their belief because now they feel like they're being bullied or whatever the situation. So I just like sovereignty. Yeah, exactly. And then I guess for you guys that use VPNs, because it's not that I don't use it, but what's your favorite VPN?
I just use NordVPN. It's the easy one available in Europe. Guys, I'm sorry I have to hop out. Thank you very much for the great talk. Thank you, Haas. And
nice seeing you. Hope you have the rest of your good Sunday here. Yeah, we'll be wrapping up. So Carter, how many pools do you expect whenever Silk goes live?
Yeah, let me pull up. Let's see. I should know this off the top of my head, but I'm going to pull up a little spreadsheet just to make sure. Let's see. All right. So it should be, okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Should be an additional 10 pools coming.
Nice.
So big, really exciting one is going to be Silk ST Atom. That's going to be heavily incentivized. One of like the really cool user stories that we're going to be focused on is because the baseline routing token is Silk and not a volatile governance token, and because there's going to be a stable swap on Silk to USDC. Essentially, the router, if you go USDC to Silk, Silk to ST Atom to Atom, because of the stable swap plus derivative swap, it actually might be cheaper than Osmosis to acquire Atom with USDC. So that's a user story we're going to be like super lasered in on, and it's why Silk ST Atom is going to be a big pool. In addition to that, ST Atom is used as collateral for Silk. So all the different the folks out there that want to utilize their ST Atom to mint out Silk to buy more ST Atom, that's that leverage staking I was talking about earlier. We're really focused on enabling that with ST Atom to Silk. And then Silk to Shade is also another really cool pool for the protocol. Obviously, every Silk represents an interest payment stream back to the DAO. So Silk Shade's just like two of the like really key tokens of the protocol. So I think a lot of Shade maxis are going to be excited about liquidity providing on that one.
Yeah, I like that. Is there any way, like on your bridge, right? And you have like Osmosis, the secret, and then you click assets, and then there's Osmo. Let me see what all the assets. There's secret, Osmo, Shade, and then stake secret. Is there any way in the future that you can pretty much add assets to that?
Yeah, so this is essentially like would be like a multi-hop IBC transaction where like a good example is you should be able to on that Osmosis dropdown select something like ST Atom that lives on Osmosis, and the way the bridge would work is it would send it from Osmosis to Stride and then from Stride to Secret Network. But in the UI UX, you should be able to like seamlessly select that because when people think about bridging, they think A to B, right? They don't think about the fact that it's technically like A back to C and then to B. So we're definitely in Bridge V2. We'll be optimizing for like kind of that multi-hop experience. And you'll notice that like the Shade bridge is a generalized IBC bridge interface. So like you can bridge from Osmosis to Atom. You can bridge from Jackal to Osmosis, like all these different chains. That's actually one of the first in the whole Cosmos. Axelar supports a generalized IBC bridge interface, but they only have support for 5 Cosmos chains. And then something like Osmosis, they only focus on deposit and withdraw directly into their app. They don't actually help you with like generalized IBC bridging. So the Shade bridges, we're really focused on it being just a public good and public utility for the whole Cosmos. And we definitely look forward to continuing to improve its functionality as IBC technology advances.
Yeah, I like that because that would be real key for you guys. You know, it's like you could have any asset on whatever chain, then you could just have it come over without people need to like me, for example. It's like now I got to withdraw my Atom from from Osmosis back to the hub, and then then connect and then send it over. It'd be just nice to be like, all right, I'm just going to send Atom over one click. You know what I mean? So that's good. I like that. Well, if anyone else has any questions before we wrap it up, man, I appreciate everyone stopping by on your Sundays and hearing us just rant about stuff. And but thank you, Carter, man. It's exciting that you got this going on. I'm looking forward to Silk. And are you gonna have like any stable coin straight pools? I'm sure you probably are, right? Like Silk and IST, or like what's the deal with all the stable coin pairs? Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Got rugged.
Yeah, if he's speaking, I can't hear him.
No, his
either.
mute button's still showing on mine. I'm just interested to see like which stablecoin pairs, because like that's been like my thing, and one of the reasons why I've been using like QuickSwap is that USDC or actually USDC and USDC, they've had a good pull. It's still really good. It's been on there for a long time now, and I kind of just like that, sitting there earning a little bit of yield on it. And then also the fact if something pops up that catches my eye, I can just easily make a move, as opposed to, I love Osmosis. I'm a big Osmo guy, but like Carter said before, you're a customer, and sometimes locking up your liquidity is a little frustrating because it's like it's sitting there. What happens if some opportunity comes and you're locked up? But they have workarounds, like you're able to borrow against your LP positions and stuff like that, and you're able to do a lot more, which is nice. So everything's starting to come to fruition. I think the DeFi, just in Cosmos as a whole, with all these different protocols and vaults, and it's really starting to take off. So like I was saying earlier, I really feel pretty good about Cosmos DeFi, once the market starts to rip back. So anyhow, I think Carter, here you go. Let me see if you can get back on. Can you hear me, Carter?
Or something fun like that. So that was a good time.
Did you hear my question? My question was, whenever Silk goes live, like how many stable coin pairs? And then I guess like I would assume like say IST, and then they're going to have, is it easy for them to add incentives?
Yep. So partners will be announced this upcoming week, but I suppose it's a Twitter space here, so I can tease it. But there will be dual incentives on the Silk IST pair. where you'll be able to earn Shade and BLD, the governance token of that. And that's just one partnership. If you comb through some other tweets, you can find clues, but lots of folks coming in. We were very focused on business development the last 6 months, because at the end of the day, like, Shade Swap and Silk are really only as useful as, the available liquidity and the number of, pairs that exist. So we're very excited to onboard other communities into Shade Swap, have multiple incentives. And yeah, we're also working closely with our partners for like seeding those pools and getting rewards into the pools, permissionlessly, so to speak. So very, very excited.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I don't know if you heard me, but I was saying one of the pools that I've been into for a while now, I don't even know how many months it's been, but the USDC and USDC pool, it's actually on QuickSwap, which is on Polygon. And then they also have a pretty good stablecoin pool on PancakeSwap, I think it is. It's like USDC and USDT. It's just nice, like you were saying earlier, which I totally agree with, is like being an LP provider, you're really a customer, and sometimes locking it up, like on Osmosis can be a little bit annoying, because if an opportunity comes, you're kind of just like held hostage, so to speak. But I mean, they have workarounds too, like you can borrow against LP positions, and they're building out stuff like that. But I do like the fact that you can just kind of earn yield without technically being held hostage, so to speak. So that's awesome, because I think everyone, this is not financial advice, but if you are providing liquidity or just in general, you should always, in my opinion, even if it's just 10% of your portfolio, you should probably have it in like a stable coin. That's kind of like my thing. I do even more than that, because like opportunities do come up, and like for me, it was nice. I don't want to say it was nice, but whenever the USDC FUD happened, and it kind of tanked a little bit, it was just an opportunity, and there's always opportunities in this space. There's just so much going on, and if you have everything locked up or staked, that's the whole kind of premise of having staking derivatives, that allows you to do more things as well with it. But you should always have some free capital to deploy at any moment, because anything can happen, literally, and you can miss out if you don't. So I like what you guys are doing, for sure.
To briefly touch on the philosophy of instant withdrawal. Essentially, like, markets are incredibly efficient at like determining the risk reward of any given pool. Like, I think one thing people don't understand is protocols do not pick APRs. Markets determine APRs by continuing to provide liquidity until essentially it finds the equilibrium between risk and reward, where no additional liquidity is being added and the market participants are satisfied with the APR. But if more people added TVL, like, essentially, like, it's markets are really freaking smart. And so the weird part about forcing people to lock up liquidity is it's like trying to mess with that equilibrium by just like paying people more for the liquidity to be sticky. But like, why are you trying to make the liquidity sticky? Like, the APR of any given pool will find its stable point. So if someone massively withdraws from a pool, the market will naturally refill it, assuming the risk of the underlying tokens in that pool hasn't changed at all, right? So I think instant withdrawal is just an acknowledgement that markets are efficient, and the best way to like deepen TVL and make sure that liquidity providers stay is to simply increase volume and to maintain security.
I totally agree with that. I was going to give my suggestion. This has nothing to do with that, but just like your portfolio page, and it says like my assets. I think maybe next to like where it says total portfolio value and it gives you your amount, maybe have like another little box and it says like my pools or my position, and then you could like even click it, and then it brings up like what you're in. Like, okay, I'm in the staked Atom and staked Osmo pool, and I'm in this, and it's just like, instead of having to like, because like on the left side you got bridge, airdrop, wrap, bonds, derivatives, portfolio, swap, and then migrate. Like I know like a lot of new people or newer people, they're going to be like, where the hell's my LPs at? Like where do I go to find them? And then they got to click swap, and then they got to click pools. You know what I mean? I think you should have it right in there for people. That's just my suggestion.
I like that a lot. Portfolio is definitely next on the chopping block. So there's some Figma mock-ups for like a V2 of Portfolio and then a very like IBC focused V3. So totally agree with you. I would argue Portfolio is probably the weakest page on the app right now. So we'll definitely be focused on improving that. And also, like to your point, Shade Protocol's vision is a multi-app primitive, right? Like once Lend and Silk goes live, there's also going to be the earn pool where people can deposit Silk to like earn from liquidations. And so the more apps we launch, the more it's actually difficult to track where is my my collateral even within Shade as an app, because there's just going to be so many things to do. So we first want to solve for making that very, very clear on Portfolio page for inter-app, and then eventually we also want it to be a Portfolio page that's relevant to like where all of your IBC assets are. I think it's like one of my biggest complaints in IBC is like you got, if you're in 7 different DeFi apps throughout the entire IBC, it's like super confusing to know where that money is, And so how can we help fix
Yeah,
that?
totally, man. I know there's teams that work on it. Like I think Pulsar does a pretty good job. I think there's a couple other ones out there as well. And I'm just more I just know Pulsar, for example, because I've had them on Spaces and I like their team. But yeah, totally, man. Like I know, like in other ecosystems outside of Cosmos, I DeFi on it, and it's just such a pain in the ass to try to find things. Even just the LP, it's just like it's really annoying. You have to add it, then you have to go on this other one and click stake, and then you gotta bond it, and there's like 3 or 4 transactions just to add liquidity to an LP pool. It's just like there's no way someone that's barely using the computer is going to be able to do any of this stuff. And I think we're leaps and bounds ahead of other ecosystems for the most part, but we still can improve, obviously. So looking forward to it, man. Carter, I don't want to keep you on here too long. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everyone that tuned in. I think actually, you know what, LB, you stopped up. Did you have any last questions or concerns or thoughts before we end this?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the space. Unfortunately, I got to this space very late, so let me just be real quick here. So there might be a couple of you that I can follow, but also maybe find some people on YouTube. So I've been an investor in Cosmos since 2021, and I've managed to, take advantage of some of the airdrops, et cetera. But I have had some issues with some of the airdrops, and so I'd like to go into that, but this space is ending. So perhaps I can just be on the lookout for another space. And because I am kind of a verbal person.
No, go ahead, man. If you have a question about airdrops in particular, I mean, because maybe someone else has the same issues and they're listening, because a lot of people do listen to the recording. So what is your particular concern? And first off, are you using like a ledger? Is that are you using Ledger?
So no, I'm using Kepler, and everything is I don't have anything on my ledger at the moment. Maybe I should migrate towards that, but everything's just staked, and I'm staking 100%. I can't seem to get away from that. But anyway, I have gone to the airdrop site. I've managed to grab Juno back when that was available, and I grabbed. Let me see here. I'm going to pull up my. So I've got Juno, Stargaze, Osmosis. I could never seem to get Evmos, and I just, some of this stuff. So I'm definitely not a neophyte, but at the same time, sometimes I just feel like I'm not quite. I don't want to use a pejorative word, like geek or nerd, but anyway, sometimes I'm just not.
No, man. Honestly,
code.
like I'm real. I've put in so many hours, 12, 15 hours a day, well, before tax season. But yeah, I wouldn't put yourself down, because some of them are over complex and complicated. Like there are sometimes, like there's an airdrop, it might not even be worth that much that I'm going to qualify for, and then I go on there and I'm starting to mess around. It's complicated. I'm like, screw it, it's not worth my time. So I wouldn't feel like that. I know a lot of people did have issues with the Evmos airdrop. In fact, that's one of the main reasons why initially they kind of halted the chain when it was first supposed to come out, because there was a lot of issues. And it was the reason I asked you about ledgers, for the most part, any sort of issues or friction in Cosmos seems like it's related to ledgers, honestly, to be honest with you. But I don't know what the issue would have been in that particular situation with Evmos, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, you can always reach out to me. There's some other people too. I can kind of help you or whatever if you're having any issues. Or there's a couple good people. I don't know his handle right now. It's like Airdrops One. He basically just covers his content specifically just Cosmos airdrops and like what's coming out, and he's a good person to ask as well. But yeah, you can follow me, and if you ever have any questions or concerns, you can hit me up. And when I get a chance, I'll get back and try to help you with whatever sort of airdrop. And there really hasn't been too many recently, but I'm sure you probably, if you're staking secret, you would have qualified for the Shade one. So I don't know if you've qualified for.
I was about to say, because the Shade airdrop was for Atom, Secret, and Luna stakers at the end of, it was November 7th to December 21st of 2021. So if you were staking Atom during that time, you definitely qualified for that one. And so you would just need a little bit of Secret on Secret Network, and you'd be able to claim the first 30%. And actually the final 70% of the airdrop is coming with the launch of Shade staking in early May. So that could be one to look into. And if you want to DM me proactively, so if you have any questions looking through that, assuming you qualified, we'd be happy to help.
Awesome. Okay, I just followed you, Carter. Thank you so much for that. And I do see here at airdrops.io that Shade protocol's expired, but it sounds like there's another way to do it by grabbing something else first. And so, yeah, I'll definitely DM you, and then if you can maybe hold my hand and walk me through it, that would be fantastic. I would appreciate it because it sounds like I could still get that. Okay, very good. Yeah, so. And then I just need to stay on top of this airdrops site. Obviously, I just don't really log in enough. So, okay, well, thank you very much. I don't want to keep you guys on a Sunday. Hopefully, it's beautiful where you are and you can get outdoors and enjoy some sunshine, whatever.
For sure. Hey, hit me up because there's a couple people. Actually, there's like 2 or 3 people in Cosmos that put out really good content on airdrops that you should definitely follow, because half the times that's how I find out, hey, there's going to be this airdrop going on. And they're on top of it. Like that's literally all they do is just like airdrop content. So like there's like 3 or 4 different people that in Cosmos that are reputable, do really well, and I can find out and just DM you and say, hey, follow these 3 people, 4 people, and you'll be on your way to some free money, really, to be honest with you. So
Airdrops One is definitely a good one to follow.
If you're staking Atom, Osmo, Secret, a couple other ones, like Juno, you're gonna qualify for like a bunch of airdrops. Some of them might not even be worth that much, but hell, man, every little bit helps. So you definitely probably have a lot of airdrops you probably could still qualify for or collect, so definitely look into it. But hey, man, thanks for stopping up, thanks for stopping by, everyone. Appreciate your time. I hope you guys have a rest of your good Sunday, and cheers, man. Take care. Thanks, Carter.
And be sure to check out app.shadeprotocol.io this Wednesday when Lend and Silk goes live. And be sure to follow Shade Protocol on Twitter. Lots of fun stuff coming. And thank you, Haas, as always. An excellent host, an excellent time. Hope you have a great Sunday.
Buddy. Take care, everyone. Cheers.
See you guys.